I'm striving to get rich. That's why I almost went 2 years without buying shoes and fits. Things change now. My mom hearing me with my music and she look a little prouder.
Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. APW Sports signing in. And then today, we know it's a little bit too early to hit in season. We still haven't had training camps. We still haven't had preseasons yet. So we don't know what's going to happen. But that is why it's called way too early predictions on how this entire NFL season is going to go. We're going to rank each team based off what we think they could potentially be. As we all know, is there are surprises, i.e. last year's Cincinnati Bengals making it to the Super Bowl. So let's not take this as face value. There's going to be some changes. There's going to be some surprises. So we're just going to get into the way too early predictions heading into this 2022 NFL season. But as always, leave this video a like. It helps this channel to grow tremendously. It beats the algorithm. And click that subscribe button so you will not miss any of the content that I post on this channel. So let's just get right into it. Okay, so we're going to have Super Bowl contender, playoff team, middle of the pack, maybe a few wins. You know what? I'm going to change this might go on 16. And we're going to change that into potential first overall pick status. Okay, so we're first going to start off with the Seattle Seahawks with the trading of Russell Wilson. I think this team is still going to be a little bit competitive, but I will put them in maybe a few wins. It's interesting how this team is going to be without Russell Wilson in the fold. So I'm going to give them maybe a few wins. Now we're looking at next, we're going to Indianapolis Colts, and they have the AFC South. And I'm going to give the Colts a playoff team. I think the quarterback upgrade from Carson Wentz to Matt Ryan is going to make a bigger difference. And last year, this team was one bad game away from being a playoff team. And with the running game of Jonathan Taylor, with improved defense with Darius Leonard in the fold, I still think this team is a playoff team. I still believe it's a playoff team despite Matt Eberflus leaving to become the head coach of the Chicago Bears, which I will get into later. But I think they're still a playoff team. Now, next we're going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's interesting. This is the post-Ben Roethlisberger era for Pittsburgh. But I still believe with that defense led by Defensive Player of the Year, T.J. Watt, Cam Hayward, Joe Hayden, you have Minka Fitzpatrick, who's been the really started player for him. I still think they're going to be a playoff team. I still think they're going to be a potential playoff team. With this roster as is, even with Trubisky at quarterback, even though I still believe in Trubisky going forward, this is a playoff team. I still believe in them to be a playoff team. Next, we're going to go to the Atlanta Falcons. They're going to be a team that gets maybe a few wins. They are going to be a football team that gets maybe a few wins. You lost a lot with trading Matt Ryan. You draft Desmond Ridder. You have Marcus Mariota, who I don't think is bad, but I don't think this team is, at this point, built good enough to be a playoff team at all. Even though A.J. Terrell and Deion Jones are real stalwarts of that defense, I still believe this team is going to be in middle of the pack. Next, we're going to have a San Francisco 49ers. This, I think, is one of the more interesting teams so far, and even going into this 2022 season. And shout out to my guy Jay in the Bay, and Bears played them first week of the season. This team is very interesting. I still believe they're going to be a playoff team, but I wouldn't be surprised if San Fran goes middle with a pack. Now, you still have the quarterback situation that's still yet to be resolved, is where they're going to start Jimmy G or whether they're going to start Trey Lance. You still have Deebo Samuel, that whole situation. Even though I think their defense is still one of the better defenses, you have an offense which I still believe there are a little bit of a questions in the air. Is this offensive line going to play well? Who are they going to get to produce in the backfield? Whether it's Elijah Mitchell, could it be Trey Sermon, could it be Hasty? So I still think they have a little bit of questions offensively. I can see them being a playoff team, and I can see them being in the middle of the pack. But for just the sake of this video, I'm going to put them in the middle of the pack. Next, we're going to have the New York Jets. They're going to have a few wins, but they're improving. Drafting a guy like Garrett Wilson out of the Ohio State, you get Sauce Gardner, and you get weapons for Zach Wilson. You get pieces for your defense that can contribute. I still believe this Jets team is maybe a few wins, but they're still an improving football team. Me, I've been a fan of the Buffalo Bills probably since 2020. and I have them as a Super Bowl contender. Despite the loss of Brian Dable, which is, I think could hurt a little bit, you have Josh Allen, who's, I think, a year in, year out MVP candidate. Stephon Diggs, one of the best receivers in football. You have a defense, you add Von Miller to it. You have a guy like Edmonds playing that linebacker position pretty well. You have Micah Hyde, you have Tre'Davious White coming back healthy. You have a running game that is, I think, is going to improve. I think this Buffalo Bills team is a Super Bowl contender. I think they are a very legit Super Bowl contender. Next, we're going to have the Arizona Cardinals. Now, the Arizona Cardinals nosedived after starting undefeated last year. They ended up losing the division. They ended up getting their butts beat in the first round of the playoffs. Kyler Murray struggled down the stretch. They had a lot of injuries. So I think it's kind of in the same field of the 49ers. They could be a potential playoff team, and they could be potentially middle of the pack. They do lose DeAndre Hopkins for the first 6 games of the year, even though last year he missed a lot of time with injuries as well. They lost Christian Kirk. They do get Zach Ertz back. They lost a guy like Chase Edmonds, who I think was a really good weapon in their offense. They do re-sign James Conner, and Kyler Murray has to stay consistent throughout the entire season. So at this point, I'm going to pick the Arizona Cardinals to be middle of the pack. Now we're going to have the Philadelphia Eagles, and shout out to my guy Alcabet, the analyst, a Philly fan. And this Philly team, it could be, I think they are the same poking, but I think they're going to be a playoff team. I think they are going to be a playoff team. With Jalen Hurts, I think they are very much improved. With the acquisition of A.J. Brown from the Tennessee Titans, they are also very much improved on that side of the football. Defensively, I still think they are improved with the addition of Hassan Reddick and the pass rusher. You have Fletcher Cox back in that middle. So I still think this is a playoff team, if you want to be honest. Next, we're going to have the New Orleans Saints. And I think they have a questionable roster as we stand right now. I still think their defense is very good. Now we're going to see how this offense is going to look outside of Sean Payton. And that is the most intriguing thing heading into 2022. So for just that sake, I don't know what they're going to look like offensively, even with Jameis Winston. And you get the Ohio State receivers, my boys Michael Thomas and Chris Olave, who they drafted. Marquez Callaway with Alvin Kamara. They could be a playoff team as well. But I just do not know what they're going to look like without Sean Payton. So I'm going to put them in the middle of the pack. The New England Patriots, they are a playoff team. This team is a playoff team. You have Mac Jones. You have Damian Harris, who's been really good in the backfield. Hunter Henry was a big surprise for them last year. I'm not going to say big surprise, but he really stepped up and produced. Kendrick Bourne. Nelson Aguilar has to hold on to the football. But you lose J.C. Jackson, which I think could hurt a little bit. I still think they're a playoff team with the Bill Belichick coach defense and Mac Jones improving in the year 2. I still think this very good Patriots team is a playoff team. Next, we're going to go into the almost say San Diego. Los Angeles Chargers, I think they are a playoff team. Definitely a playoff team. And you know what? I'm not going to put them in Super Bowl contender yet, even though they have the potential to be. But Justin Herbert, year 3, he's been sensational throughout his first 2 seasons. Austin Eckler. And then you add a guy like Khalil Mack. You have a guy like Joey Bosa. You have Derwin James. This defense is going to be very good. And offensively, you re-sign Mike Williams along with Keenan Allen. You have a very stout offensive line with Corey Linsley and Rashawn Slater, who's I think was the best pickup they could have had in the draft of 2021. So they are a playoff team for sure. Cincinnati, they're Super Bowl contenders. Coming off of last year's Super Bowl, and they only got better. Joe Burrow, better. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Mixon. And then you improve the offensive line that was bad, that let off 51 sacks, and they still made it to the Super Bowl. Now, on defense, Jesse Bates, they did franchise him. They did add a bit to their corners, even though they re-signed Eli Apple. I'm not going to bash Eli Apple. I'm not going to bash a Buckeye guy. But I still believe that this Cincinnati Bengals team was the biggest surprise of 2021. And I think they can handle being the hunted, because the teams are going to go after them. So I still believe in them to be a Super Bowl contender. Now, we're going to go to my team. We're going to my Chicago Bears. And for my sake, they are going to be in the middle of the pack. I'm not going to sugarcoat nothing. I don't know what they're going to get at this Bears offense. I don't know what they're going to get at this Bears defense from transferring to a 3-4 to a 4-3. If you watch my videos, I've said all along that this Bears team is a 7-win football team, and I'm going to stand by my prediction. They are a 7-win football team. So with the 17-game season, usually 8 is the middle of the pack, 8-9 wins, 7-8-9 wins. The Bears are going to be a middle of the pack football team, but this season is all about the growth of Justin Fields. Next, we're going to have the Dallas Cowboys, and I'm going to put them as the playoff team. Now, losing on Amari Cooper is going to hurt a little bit, but I believe CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup will step up in those roles. Ezekiel Elliott is going to have a full, healthy season. They do lose Randy Gregory, which I think can hurt a little bit, but they do bring in DeMarcus Lawrence back. Vander Esch has to stay healthy. I do believe in this Cowboys team to be a playoff team. I don't see they're going any further than maybe getting outed in the first round or anything like that, but I do see them being a playoff team. The Miami Dolphins, I think they have a lot of speed. You add guys like Tyreek Hill, you add Breida to go with a guy like Jalen Waddle. It's all about Tua, though. They add Teron Epster on the offensive line, but it's going to be hard to put all these AFC teams up here. I still believe they could be a middle of the pack football team, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're a playoff team either. They are kind of in the same boat as the 49ers and the Saints. So I'm going to have the Miami Dolphins here, but this season is all about Tua and how can they spread the ball to those new weapons on the Coach McDonald's offense, which is proven to be attacking, physical, run-first offense that they had in San Francisco. He's bringing that to the Miami Dolphins. And that defense, still a very good defense in my opinion, with Xavier Howard and Byron Jones. So, still a very good football team. Next, the defending champion Los Angeles Rams. How are they spending so much money? You get Allen Robinson, you trade Robert Woods. We still don't know if Odell Beckham's going to come back. Matthew Stafford. You have Cam Akers, who is going to have a full, healthy season. And, of course, you have the best defensive player in the league, in my opinion, in Aaron Donald. You have Leonard Floyd. You have guys like Jalen Ramsey. So, definite Super Bowl contenders. Next, we're going to have the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm going to have them in the middle of the pack. They are in the middle of the pack football team. Even despite adding Devontae Adams, you have Derek Carr, who I believe is a very good quarterback. You have defensive questions. I think that's the biggest thing with the Raiders. Crosby, very solid. He's been very solid. They just extended him. And Perryman had a very good season under them. No, Perryman's gone, No, I can't remember that. But I think defensively, the Raiders still have ways to improve, mainly at the corner spots. But I still think they're the middle of the pack football team. And here, I think, is the most interesting team we've had. And that is the Cleveland Browns. We don't know what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson. We don't know what's going to happen with the whole Cleveland Browns quarterback situation. They just re-signed Jadeveon Clowney a while back. They have a very stellar defense with Myles Garrett. They have Denzel Ward. Offensively, they add Amari Cooper. They lose Beckham last year. They lose Landry. It's going to be tough, but I'm going to put them in the middle of the pack. Middle of the pack, I just don't know what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson. But if Deshaun Watson's healthy fully and they're playing fully, guaranteed season, they are a playoff team with an added addition versus what they got from Baker Mayfield versus what they could potentially get for Deshaun Watson. So I'm going to leave Cleveland in the playoff team. Next, we're going to have the New York Giants. And to be 100% honest, they might be the first team I put in this bottom row. I just don't believe in Daniel Jones. I have no belief in Daniel Jones anymore. Even though Brian Daboll, I believe, is a very good offensive mind, I just don't think Daniel Jones is the quarterback. And there another question is health, especially with Saquon Barkley. Sterling Shepard had some injuries. Kenny Golladay, who they brought in, didn't really produce. Defensively, I don't think this team is there. Leonard Williams has been stellar, but I just don't think this team is there. And I'm going to put them at the bottom row. And this is the first time me putting a team there. Next, we're going to go Denver Broncos. They just acquired Russell Wilson. And they do have a lot on offense. They have some good pieces on defense. I'm going to put them in the middle of the pack as well. I do like what they've done this offseason. But, of course, Russell Wilson. You have Devontae Williams, who had a very stellar rookie year last year. You have a guy like Bradley Chubb on your defense. You have Patrick Surtain II, who I believe can develop into a shutdown corner in this league. But overall, I think this team may be a year away from being truly competitive. But we would just have to see how that goes. But I'm going to put them in the middle of the pack. The Bucs, Super Bowl contenders. Super Bowl contenders. Brady's back, and I think he's still going to be Brady. You have Fournette, you have Evans, Chris Godwin's coming back. You have that defense. I don't know if they're going to bring Ndamukong Suh back, which I think he played a big part in that. You have Carlton Davis, Devin White, Levante David. You have a very good defense, and you have a very good offense, and I think they are Super Bowl contenders, to be 100% honest. Next, the Lions. I'm struggling between the bottom and the top for this team. Even though, you know what? I'm going to put the Lions there. I think they're going to be much improved, but I just don't believe that Jared Goff is a guy. They're going to have to fix that quarterback situation sooner or later. You get Aiden Hutchinson, you get Jamison Williams, you get DJ Chark. You're going to have to fix that quarterback situation sooner or later, and I just don't believe Jared Goff is the guy. They're going to have to fix that sooner or later. Next, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars, maybe in a few wins as well, even though all the money they spent with Kirk and all these different free agents they brought in, with Brandon Sheriff. I still think this team is maybe a few wins. They have a lot of developing to do with Trevor Lawrence and the new head coach, Doug Peterson. So I still think they have a lot of developing to do. Washington, this is a very interesting team. Carson Wentz, I haven't been a believer in him in the last couple of seasons. They have Chase Young coming back on defense. You have a guy like Terry McLaurin, who's a very good wide receiver. But I'm struggling with maybe a few wins with them as well. I just don't see this team really doing too much. I just don't believe offensively they're going to have enough. I just don't. At this point right now, I just do not. Next, we're going to have the Minnesota Vikings. And I'm going to put them in the middle of the pack. I think they're going to definitely be better than the Bears, if you want to be honest, in the NFC North. With Kirk Cousins, I still don't trust him. But you have Justin Jefferson, you have Adam Thielen, you have Dalvin Cook. And I still believe that this Vikings team can be a very good team. I think they're going to be better than the Bears in the NFC North. But my question is, how's this defense going to be outside of Mike Zimmer? What are they going to do on the defensive side of the ball? That is my biggest hang-up with this Minnesota Vikings football team, with Eric Crandridge in the middle, Danielle Hunter. My biggest question is, how is this defense going to look? Next, we're going to have the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, this is a rough team for me to rank, if you want me to be honest. But I don't know what they're going to look like without Tyreek Hill. But you have Patrick Mahomes. I don't know what they're going to look like without Tyreek Hill. They have guys like Byron Pringle that are gone. They did add Juju Smith-Schuster. They did add... I don't know. My biggest question is this defense. Tyrann Mathieu's now gone. I still believe offensively they could be a Super Bowl contender, but I just don't know what their defense is going to be. That has been my biggest question for this Kansas City Chiefs team all throughout this run. Defense. And defenses would let them down last year, even though the offense played bad as well. The defense couldn't stop the Cincinnati Bengals in the AFC Championship game, and the Buffalo Bills had a field day on them, and if it wasn't for bad Bills defense, they probably would have been eliminated then. So, defensively, the Kansas City Chiefs, I don't know, but I'm still going to believe in them offensively. The Baltimore Ravens, I'm going to put at the playoff team, but losing Marquise Hollywood Brown I think it's going to make a bigger difference than what a lot of people think. Their running game, I think, is going to be improved with health alone, with J.K. Dobbins coming back, Gus Edwards coming back, Lamar Jackson coming back fully healthy. Defensively, Marlon Humphrey, Patrick Queen, Calais Campbell. So I still believe in this team to be a playoff team, but it's going to be interesting to see. Carolina Panthers, this is another question. I'm going to have them, it's either between middle of the pack or maybe a few wins. I don't know what the quarterback situation is going to look like, so I'm going to put them in maybe a few wins. Matt Corral, I don't know. Sam Darnold, not the answer. They have all the pieces around the quarterback. They have a solid defense. You have a very good running game with McCaffrey. You have weapons, DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson. I just don't know what they're going to be. I just don't know what they're going to be at the quarterback position, which is why I have to put them in maybe a few wins. The Tennessee Titans, Derrick Henry fully back. They did draft Malik Willis, which I think was a surprise. Ryan Tannehill, I don't think he's going to carry this team over. They did trade A.J. Brown, which I believe is a surprise. And I'm going to put Tennessee in the middle of the pack. Despite being a #1 seed last year, I just don't know what they're going to... This football team, I just don't know. I'm going to put them in the middle of the pack. This might surprise a lot of people, but I'm going to put them in the middle of the pack. Next, Houston Texans. I'm going to put them in first overall pick status as well. They just don't have a lot. Quarterback Davis Mills, solid, but we'll see. They did re-sign Brandon Cooks, but this Texas team still has a lot of rebuilding to do. Let's just say it like that. And last team, but not least, the most hated team in my life, for the Green Bay Packers. They lost Devontae Adams, but they're Super Bowl contenders every year, but they just don't get it done. So I'm going to put them in the Super Bowl contenders, despite the loss of Devontae Adams, despite the loss of Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and I'm still surprised they didn't draft a wide receiver, try to take one in the first round. I'm still surprised by that. But they always find ways to win games when Aaron Rodgers is around, especially when they play my Bears. And they did just re-sign Jair Alexander, who missed a lot of last year with injuries. And they're always going to be Super Bowl contenders. It's just about getting it done in the playoffs. So, hey, these are my rankings. If you guys agree or disagree, leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. I really want to see what you guys think. But that's going to do it. I'm signing out. Make sure you guys stay safe. Have a great next day, and I'll catch you guys next. Peace.